episode of The Pill of Success. Yeah. And I'm so pleased to have with me today two wonderful women called Lana Bastianutti and Linda Ford. And they both live in the Boston area and are two of my dear colleagues. They have written a book and it's called Women and Confidence, the truth about the lies we tell ourselves. And I'm excited to hear both about the lies. That's, I guess, the most exciting part, but also about the truth. And the truth will set you free, isn't it that so? Well, we'll see today if you'll end up as a free person, mind-free person. In their press release, they point out that the self-help industry is today a $10 billion industry. And it's estimated to reach $13.25 billion by the year 2022. And actually, I didn't know that, but millennials are big spenders in this area. 94% of them are committed in some way to self-improvement. And they have much higher expectations for themselves compared to previous generations. So I guess, girls, we have something to learn there from the youngsters. And I also want to point out that all the men listening, it's the same universal principles that behind confidence we will share that goes for women and for men. So you're super cool to listen to this podcast as well. And I'm sure you will also recognize some patterns that you have been stuck in. Lana and Linda questioned themselves about why are women still suffering from a lack of confidence? Why are they still playing small? What if all of us, including the self-help industry, have been looking in the wrong direction?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, there you are. Hi, Lana.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm so pleased to have you here. I'm just really thrilled. And it's the first time I have two people on the podcast together. So that will be even better, I think. You just released a book, and how do you feel?
Tired.
Wow. Well, thank you for having us to begin
Yes,
with.
thank you.
I'm really thrilled to be here, and even more so now that we know we're the first double team on your podcast.
Yes.
That's exciting. So, Linda, how do we feel?
Well, I just said felt tired, but I'm just being facetious here. But you go ahead. How do you feel, Lana, about being an author?
How do I feel about it? Just feels like, okay, yeah, that was the next natural thing to do. It I don't know. It just feels like the next step that, yeah, we want to help women. What was something that was really irking us that we really struggled with for most of our lives? And when we saw it in a new way, we said collectively, we've got to get this out to other women. They need to know this stuff. And so it just was a natural progression. So, it's funny. I don't feel like, yeah, huzzah, I wrote a book. It's more like, yeah, it's out there. Hopefully it helps people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been one of those people who thought, oh, there's a book in me, and I've been saying that for years. What is this book that wants to come out? And I never really identified it until I met Lana when we first, because we come from a background of coaching. We've been coaching for 10 years, each of us. And so when we met and we started sharing our experiences, and it was really clear that the one thing that kept coming up, because we thought, well, maybe we need to write a book, what is the subject that we have both experienced with our clients and also with ourselves? And that was this whole issue of insecurity and the fact that there's so many brilliant women out there doing their thing, right? They're working hard, they're really committed, but they're going through life as if they've got the handbrake on. And you know how that is. You're driving along in your car. You've got the handbrake on, and it's really
I did
difficult.
that actually a couple times. Doesn't feel very
I've done
good.
it a lot. And so, but once you let the brake off, you're immediately propelled forward, and your ride becomes so much easier. And for us, at least for me, I always felt like I was going through life with that handbrake on, especially as it pertained to my career. You know, I was out there, like a lot of women, doing my thing. I had a couple of degrees. I was qualified. I was capable, smart. And yet I kept holding myself back. And I kept second guessing myself. And so we could see that, yeah, this is universal, this problem with women. This is something that a lot of women, not just a few, a lot of women are going through. And we thought, wow, what a shame. You know, this is a tragedy. So we wanted to hit that subject right in the middle and run with it, you know?
Yeah, I must really say, reading your book, I was like, check, 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 check. Like all the lies we tell ourselves. And for our listeners, I just would love to read like the lie number 1. I can't be confident if I don't think I'll look good. Check. Lie number 2. I need to please other people to feel confident. Check a lot in my life. Lie 3. I can only feel confident in certain situations. Okay. Lie 4. I lose my confidence when I compare myself with others. I mean, who does compare yourself with others? Lie 5. I don't have the confidence to live without a partner. Big one. Lie 6. I can't be confident because I don't feel like I'm good enough. Lie 7. I don't have the confidence to screw up in public. And before this podcast today, I had these thoughts. Even in my dreams sometimes dream that I screw up in public. Lie 8. My confidence takes a nosedive when I'm criticized. Lie number 9. You're either born confident or you're not. So that's the lies that you uncover in your book. And I must really thank you as a reader that you go so personal into your stories. And I must say, reading the stories you share from your personal lives, I want to read more about the stories, but then you sort of magically change the stories to insights. I'm like, oh, where's the story? I think it's a kind of human thing to want to dig deep into our stories. Do you get me? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's primal, isn't it? I mean, we started off sitting around campfires telling stories, or even drawing our stories on the cave walls. You know, so this is something that is primal. It's powerful, and people remember stories more than concepts, which is why we wanted to. I mean, we could have written a book about, you know, if you've got this problem, here's what to do. But we wanted to really have people identify and really read and say, oh, yes, that's what I go through. I know that feeling. I know that experience, that circumstance. So it's a way of identifying, you know, with your reader. And also, when you tell your own personal story, you just have credibility. It's like, yeah, I understand you. I know where you're coming from. And so we started off, Lana, didn't we, writing more kind of journalistically, and I tend to come from the story background because I've taught literature in the university, and so it's just, you know, it's always been part of me. And I said to Lana, I remember having this conversation with Lana, and I said, your writing is brilliant, but I want you're missing from it. You know, I want to know how this problem has impacted you. So that's when we kind of turned it into this narrative, personal narrative.
I think my listeners are really, really curious to have some help today.
Listen, if we can have insights on this, if we have been able to have insights, there is big hope.
Exactly. So, yeah, I would love to hear a bit from the stories, because I think, like you say, the narrative, and it's where we recognize ourselves. Yeah. So in a way, we can just pick a lie. Like, I can't be confident if I don't think I look good.
That's such a big one for women, isn't it?
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times it stopped me when I was in sort of the corporate world. In terms of if I had to do a presentation or something or a training, and I didn't think, oh gosh, today I just don't feel like I look good, so I wanted to hide out or I wouldn't volunteer for stuff. It completely stopped me from showing up and doing what I was so capable of doing. Or even within the workplace, feeling like you're being judged for your appearance, or noticing how some women were dismissed because they were too good looking, quote unquote, so they must not have as much of value or substance to them because they look too good or they're dressed too femininely or, their nails were whatever. We get this construct often. And Linda and I talked about this as well. It's like sometimes women get painted as either the saint or the sinner. It's a very black and white way of seeing women. You're either of substance or you're not. You're one or the other. And we don't know what to do with the gray. And what we're trying to show women is, we have this culture, we have this conditioning that talks about how we're supposed to look and how we're supposed to present ourselves. But when you get caught up into that, that's a lie and that's misleading and that's short-sighted in terms of how you can show up and what's already innately in you to contribute to work. Aside from all this other stuff, this habitual way of thinking or conditioning that we're supposed to look good, that gets in the way of showing up and doing your job and doing what tapping into that creativity that is in you and ready to come out. It's so limiting, isn't it? Linda, do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, this was a big one for me, especially as I was a coach and my work kind of demanded that I be public, make the videos, get yourself on Facebook, whatever. And so, for me, it was like, and I don't mean to sound, because I write about this in the chapter, is that I've always kind of thought myself to be attractive. I just have. I'm just going to put it out there, like in my younger years. And then when I started noticing, when I looked in the mirror and I could see something different than I was used to as I started aging, that wasn't good enough for me. It was like, no, that's not me. When I saw myself on video later on, I thought, that's not the real me. Where is that young woman gone to, And so for me, it was like trying to reconcile that. It's like, so what am I going to do? If I don't like what I see in the mirror, does that mean I just back off and go into hiding for the rest of my life? Or do I, and suffer the consequences of that? Or do I just kind of accept that's who I am now, I'm not the young thing that I used to be. And so I've had to really make peace with that. And it's interesting that, you kind of begin to, as cliche as it sounds, you just begin to see yourself on this whole other level. It's like, this is the thing that I look at in the mirror every day is me, but it's changing. But there's something else that isn't changing, So it's been an interesting journey to see that happen, to see those changes and how they've impacted me. And what it means, does that mean I'm just going to give up and not do anything in life because I don't like the way I look? So...
So what advice would you give to women if they wake up in the morning or having a little bit of a bad day and going to work and maybe don't feel like fantastic in their own skin, but still have to do the work, have to meet people, have to go to meetings, have to meet customers and all of that, and internally have a bad feeling?
Again, it's like, you've got two choices. You can say, okay, I don't like the way I look, and I don't want to show up. So I'll just kind of try and orchestrate my life so that I can back off and just, stay behind the scenes. or I can just accept what's going on, remember who I really am, right? When you have this understanding, you can kind of remind yourself of how the mind works and how that's just thinking.
So
it doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean that insecurity doesn't make you feel bad, but you can remind yourself of the consequences of those two. You can either go down that rabbit hole of doing nothing and hiding out for the rest of your life, or you can just accept this is who I am, and that those feelings of insecurity can move along if you just let them. They'll come and go, like anything.
Yeah, and I think the other important thing to really reconcile with is that a feeling is just a feeling. It's not pointing to a truth about yourself, an underlying truth, you're no good, or you shouldn't show up and do anything, or because you don't feel good, you're incapable of doing anything. And we see even in the world of sports how women who are playing basketball or volleyball, they may not feel good about but they still know how to do their job. They still get out there on the court and they can still do it. And I think sometimes we get caught up in our feelings and think that's who we are. And that's where we're looking at those bars saying, look, I'm imprisoned. Meanwhile, it's like, no, that's just an illusion. Those are just feelings. That's just being brought to life in you. And that's okay. That's just what you're experiencing right now. But it doesn't have to define you. As Linda says, you have to remember who you really are. And you're not your feelings and you're not your thoughts. That's just an illusion. You're bigger than that.
So how can we get to that place to know who we are? I think that's one of the biggest questions humans can ask themselves, and to get, who am I? It's a big one.
Yeah, well, this is the tricky thing, because this is where we start talking about identity and a self.
Yeah.
And we women, anybody actually, you don't have to be a woman, anybody, we start putting labels on ourselves of who we are. I'm shy, I'm insecure, I'm looking, I'm like whatever.
I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We put these labels on ourselves, and all that is just conditioning. It's something we heard or believed from somebody else. But what I do is remember, oh, well, if I was on the island of, where cellulite, for example, was like revered, where they were like, wow, if you have a little bit of cellulite, you are going to be the queen. Well, hello, what's the difference? What's the difference? The only difference is our thinking about it in the moment. That's it. So these identities that we create about who we are, we tend to put them in cement and think that's who we are, and it's not. If you only have to look at kids to see how fluid they are. How at Halloween they dress up as anything they want, because they can be anything they want, because they can pretend. And we can too. We're not restricted. We've got all those amazing qualities within us that we don't have to do anything to have. And those qualities, as Lynn and I talk about, are one of which is confidence. That's innate. That's in us. It's built into us. Yet we've got all this thinking outside that puts a guard around it and says, well, no, that's not you. This is your identity. So it's about realizing that's all made up. That's all made up.
So I think one of the, if I could just add to what Lana's saying, we're always kind of like your question, Aya, is about, well, so what do we do? We find ourselves in these predicaments. What do we do? And it's always, understandably geared to, well, how can you help me? What should I do? And for me, coming into this new understanding of how we create our experience, when I have those momentary feelings of insecurity, and they do come, they're part of, my experience, and they come and they go. If there's anything to do, it's really, for me, it's just about reminding myself. That's, if you can call that doing. It's just to remind myself.
So what do you say to yourself then?
Yeah. So what I say to myself is, oh, there's that mind chatter again. You know, there's just that, because that's my lower brain just kicking in and telling me what I've always been told. And so it's doing its job, right? It's doing the job that it was that I trained it to do. And so I just kind of remind myself, oh yeah, that's how the equipment works, right? That's just that doing its thing. And it's also very, you know, it's transitory. It likes to flow through us, as Lana says. It's just flowing through us, and it will move on of its own accord if I don't go down the rabbit hole with it. So if I go down that rabbit hole with that thinking, then I'm lost, right? For a moment, for a while, for longer than I want to be. So it's about not getting caught in that. I used to go down that rabbit hole all the time, and I'd get stuck there for months, for years, for decades. And now it's like, oh, there's that stuff again, you know, and it's not real. It's not true. And so if there's anything to do, it's just like, oh yeah, remember how it all works.
Yeah, then we don't have to be a member of the rabbit hole club anymore. I mean, if I knew this from when I was 7, my life would be really different.
Oh, hey,
but then maybe I wouldn't sit here with you guys.
Yeah, why didn't somebody tell us this when we were younger, right? I could have saved myself a lot of misery.
A lot of money. I mean, I don't know how much money I spent on therapy and books and courses and even education.
I'm with you. Yeah, I know.
All of us. And we're all trying to get something that's already there.
Yeah.
You know, but we,
you know, it's okay. It's all part of our evolution. And you see the world, the big world, where we're learning on this huge learning curve right now, you know, and so it's all kind of leading us. It led me to this, you know, all that self-help led me to where I am today. So it's all good.
It's all good. I'm also fantastically thankful to my journey.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. To all my stories.
Well, you know, let me just say something. Like, I was born into a very poor family.
Okay.
So when people ask me how long I've been involved in self-help, I always say from the minute I came out of the womb, because my greatest teachers and my greatest inspiration to make sure to evolve my own life were my parents, because they showed me how not to do life very clearly. They were very good people, very loving, but they could never get their lives together. They had trouble thriving. They had trouble finding work. They had trouble with everything. And so I kind of hit the ground running when I witnessed how they were living. And it kind of set in me this desire to figure out how to really do life, which led me on the self-help trail, you know? So I kind of, you could say, well, you know, being born into poverty was a mishap and, you know, unlucky, but it actually wasn't when I look at it that way, because from the minute I started thinking and evolving, I just knew I didn't want their life, and I knew I wanted something better. So that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to feel comfortable in my own skin. Like, I just wanted to finally just relax and show up, me, whatever that meant. But it's sort of like the me isn't really there. It's just showing up with all those qualities. And we've all seen those women that are in the workplace that do seem to show up like unapologetically and just boom, boom, boom. Nothing, everything rolls off their back, and you're like, what the heck? How is she so resilient? Like, what does she have that I don't have? Or how was she born that way and I wasn't? And the missing link is she probably doesn't take her thinking. If she has any insecure thinking, she doesn't take it as seriously. And she certainly doesn't take it as personally. Like, it's just going through her. Whereas for whatever reason, we kind of took that stuff so seriously and personally, and then it colored everything we did and how we showed up. And that's not freedom.
No. Another thing I'm curious to know your reflections about is the need for approval, or the need for compliments or positive feedback. I can see that a lot. And don't misunderstand me. I mean, I think it's a healthy thing to be positive in the workplace, that people are happy and thriving in a good way. But I can also see people suffering because of their lack of feeling approved.
Right.
And maybe especially women. It's more women than men. I think also men can feel that, but I think it's more of a female issue, that we need this mirror of, yeah, you're okay.
Yeah. Go for it,
And
Lana.
it's
That's
suffering.
your chapter.
Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job in this interview to begin with.
Yeah.
Give a little feedback. Well, I mean, appreciation and feedback is always helpful, isn't it? I mean, that's how we learn most of the time. Even when we're walking, we're always deriving from our environment feedback. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so now I need to shift my balance. So it makes sense that we look for some kind of feedback to gauge how we're doing in life.
Yeah, it's social. We're social beings.
Yeah, we're social, right? But where it gets us into trouble is when we think something outside of us can determine our sense of worth, our value. That's when it starts to play with our head and with how we're showing up. Because if I'm dependent on everything out there to tell me, oh, you're doing a good job, yeah, I'm at the mercy. My power is now out there. It's not within me. Versus, yeah, I can sort of gauge and get feedback and even take criticism, but not personally. I can take that all in, but my value doesn't reside out there. My sense of worth has nothing to do with out there. Because if it did, it could change on a dime. It could change on whoever is in front of me. Because this person's like, yeah, you're great. The next person's like, yeah, you're okay. Next person's like, you're terrible. Like, I'm all over the place. Yeah. How do I have any grounding then? It doesn't reside out there. And we often mistake that. We think it's out there and it's not.
Yeah, I think we very often mistake that. And again, to make it really practical for our dear listeners, when we feel like unappreciated, or we are hurt by criticism, or we don't feel valued enough for the long hours we put into things, and what are some small steps we could do for ourselves not to lose ourselves completely in this mess?
One of the things you can do is simply ask for feedback, but not in terms of don't mistake it for your value. Like if you're in a relationship, for example, so you say, hey, hun, whoever they are, hey, hun, you know what I'd really love? I'd love to, or I'm trying to think, I'm trying not to make it too personal here.
Well, personal is okay. I'm fine with that.
That's okay.
That's actually, we love the stories, Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so for example, with my husband, I could say to him, men typically, it's like, get to the point. Like, don't dance around things. And we women, we tend to dance around and go to the side and try to get what we want in an indirect way. But with men, it's often easier and better to speak directly. So it's like, hey, hun, I really love it when you let me know, when you let me know that you love spending time with me. That that it's a lot of fun to spend time with me, because I know I love spending time with you. I feel so happy. I feel so, invigorated. I feel like we're really connected. Like, you can directly ask for that feedback. And if it's in the corporate world, the same goes with your manager, boss, whoever, or even a peer. It's like, hey, I just want to get some feedback on, how are you finding how I'm presenting this work, or how this report is. Like, you just need to ask for it. We're so afraid to ask for it. And we're also afraid to then hear the results, I mean, I think I can't remember if this is in the book still, but there was a show that I listened to one time, and they were talking about women and men and submitting their work to a radio show or something. And what happened was, when the men got the feedback of, hey, this needs some work, why don't you do some work and get back to us? The men, inevitably, they got back to them right away. The women, when they got that same feedback, never heard from them again. Because we take it so personally and as a judgment on our worth, instead of, oh, that's just feedback, so we want the feedback, okay, let me work on that. So, in a way, we come by it so innocently, because we're kind of conditioned to learn this stuff very, very young.
Self-criticism.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing to that. I've been blogging for about 10 years now, and a lot of the times when I would write a blog, I would feel as if I'd done something, written something of value, and put it out into the world, and, crickets, not a sound, nothing. Nobody would come back and say, oh, that was brilliant, Linda, And so that used to really pierce my heart. I mean, I would get so up in my head about it. Nobody appreciates me. I really felt very sorry for myself. It used to really get to me. Mm-hmm. And now, with this new understanding that I have, when that happens, and it still happens, the feeling doesn't last half as long, because, again, I get back to this whole thing of reminding myself that, I know of so many amazing people in the world who are out there doing their art, doing their work, writing brilliant stuff, and nobody knows about them. And so this is not personal, this is not little Linda's being pointed at. She's the one that's being, offended here. It's happening everywhere. So I just it kind of helps you gain perspective when you can see, my friend is brilliant too, and she doesn't have thousands of followers, or nobody's noticing her. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of gives you some perspective on that. And yes, it's nice to be recognized, but what are you going to do if you're not?
Like, I bet when you were writing that blog that you had a lot of joy just in writing.
That was the other thing I was going to mention, is keep yourself attuned to the fact, what are you doing it for? Are you getting pleasure out of it? Is it helping you? So that's another, thank you for that, Lana, because that's another important component of all of this. We're not just doing this to get famous. And if you are, then you might want to rethink that. We're doing it because we're having insights and we want to share them. And even if one person, hears it or sees it or experiences your art or whatever, then who is to say that's not important?
Recognizing that experience, that feeling of joy you had just in the creation, that quality that comes out of you, that creativity, and loving that moment. And then the minute it's out there, we suddenly change the rules of the game. Suddenly it becomes, well, wait a minute. I no longer, that joy I experienced no longer counts. Dismiss that, because the rule is now that somebody has to get back to me and let me know how great it was and how it affected. No. Stop. You're making all that up. You just changed your own rules. So.
Bad rules.
Yeah, we're funny little creatures.
Suffering rules. Yeah, I can see that with myself, because sometimes when you write a text or write an email or some kind of communicative thing, for me right now, if I write something to someone, it's done. I just put it out there and almost like forget about it, like in a good way. And then if people I don't expect people to answer immediately, really, in this busy world. Sometimes I hope people won't answer before the day after,
Yeah.
really. And then sometimes people come back, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't answer your phone, or I'm so sorry I didn't answer your SMS right away. I was just, what SMS? What are you talking about? And for me, it's such a much better place to be in, instead of having all this thinking about all the answers and what is this person doing, all this superstitious, oh, maybe he or she is not liking me anymore, or maybe there's some kind of conspiracy against me. It can go all the way in our minds. We have such great fantasy.
Yeah, you drive yourself insane. Yeah.
Just to put it out in the world, and then it comes back when it comes back. And if it's really, really important, just send another one.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We can exhaust ourselves.
It's so much easier for me to live that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
At work, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to add one thing to this this conversation about approval, because I worked for many years also as a coach, also as a violinist, as you might know. I'm a professional violinist for 25 years. And then also, you start coaching people where you are. So I've coached a lot of people from the entertainment world and from the theater world, the music world. And what I very often see is that one actor, for instance, can go home and be really, really depressed because this one person in the audience was looking down, or didn't smile, or didn't clap, or didn't show the approval. And it's such a painful place to be in. And it's very innocent, because we're conditioned to think that, everyone should like us. Otherwise, we're a flop.
Yeah.
But it's really painful to be there, because it takes a lot of energy from us.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it's, we set up these impossible demands on ourselves, like everybody can like you except that one person, really. That's the one that stands out. I mean,
and we don't even know if this person likes us or not, because maybe they're so touched that they can't get a word or can't move at all. Who knows what's going on in their minds? We have no clue.
Making it up.
Yeah. There's one more point that I'd like to address in terms of the whole getting people to like us. Lana actually wrote a really brilliant chapter on it in the book called People Pleasing, right? You need to people please others in order to feel confident. And we really feel that women in the workplace, this is a very touchy subject, but we
like that. We like that.
One of the reasons, this is quite provocative, one of the reasons why a lot of women are into this people pleasing or being the good girl, we have the good girl, is because there's something about that dynamic between men and women, as women don't want to be seen as aggressive, unfeminine, and any kind of behavior that is confrontational or even just suggestive of a different opinion. A lot of women, I'm not saying all women, but I think a lot of women are kind of worried that men are going to perceive them as unfeminine or too aggressive. And I think a lot of women are struggling with this. Wouldn't you say, Lana, that this is a big issue in the workplace?
Yeah, it's, it touches on the people pleasing, like trying to gauge, as women, as young girls, we're kind of taught and conditioned to take the temperature of the room, figure out like how's everybody doing. We feel that. We can feel how everybody's doing and try to meet everybody's needs. We're kind of trained to do this. And we see our mothers do it, and all the women in the family doing it, gauging how everybody's doing it, and then fussing around and taking care of everybody, right? And we can sometimes bring that into the workplace where we're gauging, okay, what would make this person happy? What does this person need? And we kind of form ourselves into the person that would please the other person, instead of just showing up and letting our own brilliance shine, not worried about how everybody else is going to think of us. And often this dovetails into the whole imposter syndrome, where we're showing up as somebody we don't think we really are, because we're not comfortable there, or we think, oh God, if I'm found out, then I'll be humiliated because I don't really know. And all that is a lot of thinking, just a lot of thinking that then takes away from who we really are naturally. All those things we keep talking about: confidence, creativity, resiliency, like all those things don't have as much room to come out when we're so bogged down in our head about, okay, how do I need to be for this person and that person, and what do they expect me to say here? I better say that. And we're making it all up, and it's so tiring.
It's super tiring, and there are many aspects to this, how we should be or how we should please others or not. Because I can also see sometimes when we women get overstressed, we can actually also become really harsh. And that's a really turn off, like the sexual turn off, but the turn off in the business world, it's inhibits us from living up to our potential. When it's a super busy mind and things are a lot of pressure, I can see female leaders sometimes can get into that rabbit hole of being too masculine, to say it like that.
The pendulum swings the other way, and there's this notion that
and that's also painful, I think, for everyone.
So
that's
because
also like in the misunderstanding of
both of them, that what's in common is, a bunch of thinking about how you think you need to show up in order to be safe. And one person says, okay, if I want to be safe, I need to make sure everybody's happy. And the other person says, in order for me to be safe, I need to be the aggressor. I need to be harsh. I need to keep everybody at a distance. Don't even try to approach me. And it's like the thing they have in common is all thought.
And insecurity, I think.
Insecurity, both sides.
Linda and Lana, how would we navigate us back from this pain? Actually, it's pain both ways are some kind of pain.
Well, I was just about to say that. Can you imagine a world where we, men and women, had this understanding of how we are creating our experience? I mean, how amazing that would be. How much more compassion we'd have for each other. How we wouldn't pigeonhole each other into these stereotypical roles. You're a woman, you're meant to be feminine and graceful, and you're not supposed to be outspoken, or you're a man, you're supposed to be, aggressive or whatever. Can you imagine if all of that collapsed and we just had this understanding that these bodies that we have, this conditioning we have, these are just vehicles that we're going through life in, right? And it's just our particular preference in this lifetime. I'm a woman now, and maybe I'll be a man in my next life. Who knows? I don't know if that's true. But just to see it, that these are just kind of vehicles that we're cruising through life, having fun, creating stuff. And if all of that just kind of dropped, all those misconceptions about who we are, and then if we could tap into who we really are, the level of our performance, our creativity would just go through the roof. I mean, there would be just so much less to worry about, to grieve about, to, be concerned about. I mean, right? Wouldn't it be amazing? Mm-hmm. And I think this understanding really allows for all of that compassion for each other to really come out, and compassion, understanding, cohesiveness, being able to work together better. But we're so caught up in these designations.
That's super interesting. So Linda, would you, for many listeners don't really know what this understanding is, It's like, okay, they're using this word a lot. What are they talking? I want this. So we've been talking a lot about it's misunderstanding in our thinking, and it's all a lot of thinking, the insecure thinking, the less confident thinking, the busy
Well,
thinking.
I would start by saying we have been raised in our life to believe that whatever we're experiencing in life is caused by something outside of us, which is what we call the outside-in experience. So depending on my circumstances, depending on who I'm with, who I'm talking to, it's all the outside stuff that's affecting me, that's causing me to have my experience.
Like the stress, the results, the goals, the budget, the time limits,
all of that. It's
pressure,
the bad boss. It's the
bad boss.
Whatever, right? And if it wasn't for that boss,
the work.
if it wasn't for that boss or those horrible co-workers, I would be thriving. I would do my job well. I would, so it's all, that's what we mean by the outside in understanding.
Or kids.
Or kids. Or our look, our appearance. So that's the fundamental thing that we're pointing to when we say this understanding.
Okay.
And it's something that we've grown up with. We're not used to seeing our world this way. You think about it from the very young ages when we were a kid, we had a security blanket, we had a teddy bear, something outside of us that we would hug and cuddle into because we thought it could actually make us feel a certain way, right? It would give us comfort. If I didn't have my teddy bear when I was a kid, I was going to freak out. Yeah. And it's just a trick of the mind. That's how powerful it is. So when you think about how we've been raised to believe this, it's kind of akin to, when they used to believe the world was flat. And then
some people didn't believe it.
Galileo came along, or Copernicus, whoever it was, and said, "Oh no, it doesn't work that way."
No,
it's and so it required a real paradigm shift in our understanding, but we did get there. And so this is the new paradigm shift that's going to change everything. When we can, just that one thing, understanding the inside out as opposed to outside in.
That our experience is created from the inside, not from the outside. Something outside of us can't make us feel anything. It first comes through us and we have an experience, a feeling. And when you ask, how can we become more in tune to when we're being, this aggressive, ultra hyper person versus this people pleasing? The gift of feelings, of our feelings, are our biggest clue. Because when we have that tension and that restlessness within us, that that punch gut, everybody feels it a little bit differently, but you're not settled, you don't feel like peaceful. When you have that, your mind is busy, it's caught up, and it's believing a story. When you're just yourself, your true self, with those qualities coming through where you can be most effective, and the bandwidth that you have to be able to focus for work and whatever you need to be doing, when you have that peaceful, settled feeling in you, you don't have so much of a busy mind. It's calmed down. And that's kind of the best way to gauge where, am I caught up? Am I not? Because when you're not caught up, you do better.
That's so true.
And it's a lot, I'd rather have the problem, if it is a problem, I'd rather have the problem knowing that it's under my control, rather than I've got to go and change other people. I've got to go and make sure that my boss changes his attitude, or my co-workers. That's a lot of bother right there. That takes a lot of energy to be able to manipulate and, change all of that. But if all I have to deal with is my own internal, navigation, then that's a lot easier than going outside.
Well, that's so true. I think we can all recognize, like, coming home one day and our partner is there and there's something in the house we're not so pleased with, and we blame it all on this partner and get all upset, and Another day we come in, it's like, it's maybe even more crowded, whatever. And then we're all fine and we're all loving. And I mean, it's the same house, it's the same partner, it's the same kids. Everything's really basically the same dog.
Yeah.
One day the dog can be just annoying, like so happy annoying.
Oh, I know about
Another
that.
day it's like, it's fantastic, and it's the same. And so the only difference is our experience of it.
Yeah, I live in a really beautiful area just north of Boston. I'm actually on the coast, and I walk down to the beach every day. And it's, there are days I go down there and I think, oh, I'm so lucky to live here, the blue sky, the rocks and the beach. And then I'll have days, I swear to you, I will feel so awful and so depressed. Like I can have really down days, and it's the same environment. The beach is still there. The ocean is there, the cliffs, the blue sky, and I see that what is different? It's always, the arrow is always pointing to me.
Yeah. It's like people changing relationships a lot.
Yeah.
And there's always something wrong with the partner. And it's like, who's the one person?
Yeah, the common denominator.
The common denominator in this.
What? We're always surprised by it, aren't we?
Don't want to look there.
Oh, dear. Yeah. But it's a lot less work when you understand that it's just, you're experiencing life from the inside out, and your feelings are just giving you a clue of how busy your mind is. And when it calms down, you do better. You can think more creatively. Your confidence, your natural confidence just comes shining through. And always we point to kids because they're the best example of how we were actually designed to be. They move in and out of moods, and they don't put a lot of thought into it. Like they don't make it mean something. You don't see a 2-year-old saying, "Hey mom, I want to talk about the tantrum I had yesterday. I really need to dig into this." They just don't. It's like it's over. It means nothing about me. It's like,
but we grown-ups, we're really good at pulling the kids back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. Honey, what did that, that's where the training starts. It's like it starts there innocently. We think we're helping because that's what we do. But meanwhile, we're teaching the kids like, okay, now you got to dig in. You got to find out what that means, because that means something.
That was actually one of the questions from our listeners, that when does this start, this conditioning, you say, this misunderstanding of resilience?
Really early.
Yeah.
Really, really early. Because think about it. When you've got your babies, it's like if they're crying or whatever, what do? We're like, okay, let me shake the rattle. We're looking outside to soothe something within them, and they just may be having a mood or whatever. And we're looking already outside to soothe them. Like, something out here has to fix that. Because instead of just saying, okay, well, let me just check the diaper. They're not in pain in any way. Oh, okay, they're just having whatever.
Just comfort them, just quietly.
Yeah, it's just like they just, whatever. They're just having an experience. Just be with them, and that's okay. That's okay. And, my daughter, when she was really little, when she got angry, she's like a fiery little redhead. And when she got angry, she literally would point to us and then crisscross us. Like she'd point and then cross us.
Is that the Italian temperament, Lana?
I don't know. It's something. Let me tell you. A little bit of Irish, a little bit of Italian. I don't know. And we as adults had a really hard time keeping a straight face because it was this little munchkin trying to cross us out. And it couldn't take it seriously. And meanwhile, she was deadly serious because that's what she was feeling in the moment. But we did not create a story around it. We knew it would pass naturally. And yet, as they get older and as we get older, we start creating the stories about what it means instead of going, it'll pass.
Yeah. the common sense we always gravitate back to common sense.
Common sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also common sense to know that we'll never, ever be completely devoid of thinking from the outside in. We'll always have it because we're living in a world that's so tactile and real, and it seems real, and it's just, our senses are alive. And so we'll constantly go in and out of understanding and then not understanding this, and we get caught up. But what I've experienced is that misunderstanding has become so much more reduced than it used to be, because I used to get really caught up in stuff and it would last forever, it would seem to last forever. But now I get caught up and then I remember, and then I get caught up and I remember, and it's just much smoother ride, That handbrake is definitely coming off for me.
Yeah, and we can play with it more because we are born with this amazing process, as like, I love perfumes, I love beautiful stuff, I love myself with this and that, and I enjoy it. And even though I know I'm creating my experience, I just really, maybe even more enjoy it now because I'm not, it doesn't own me anymore. It's just playing with it and having fun with it. And that's very human, I think.
Yeah, it is. It allows you to play the game without everything at stake,
Yeah.
Much more fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Wow.
Well, thank you.
Is there something more we would add to really give some super value?
Well, let's just say, don't just listen to us. We want to say to your viewers, experiment. Try out some experiments in your life and take this on, what we're saying. So the next time you have something upset you, like your boss or co-workers or whatever it is, your husband, your mate, say, okay, something outside of me seems to be creating this feeling within me. And then just kind of say, but what was it that they were saying on that podcast? Just remind yourself that, oh no, this is actually, I'm creating this from the inside out. And isn't that interesting? Just kind of have a curiosity about it, right? So just try that out and try the experiment and just see how long it takes you to kind of get back into your balance. Just see how it works for yourself in your life. And, we don't want you just to take our word. We want you to look around your life and play with this stuff, Try it out. See what happens. And we'd love to hear some feedback,
And I really encourage everyone to read the book. It's really lovely. And
thank you.
The really feeling of getting to know you guys personally.
Oh, thank you.
Because you will reveal so much of your personal lives as well. And
maybe a bit too much.
No, not at all. It's really inspiring.
Actually. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
It's courageous.
Well, we welcome the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you so much. You've been very generous with your time, and it's so lovely to meet you.
You too. And looking forward to next time already.
Absolutely.
Thank you for today.
Thank you.
If you're curious to know more about the book, I put out links to all our websites in the description of the podcast, so you can click yourself in wherever you'll feel like. And please don't hesitate to contact neither of us. And if you feel like rating the podcast, I would be really happy if you did that too. Thank you for now.